Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, this is a sort of an update on the previous video, the exact video I did before this one, where I opened up a mystery unboxing and I found within the Matt Hooper scuba diving shark cage version of Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws. We'd already had the Amityville Arrival figure variation in his denims and his little floppy hat, and then his beanie as well, and all his stuff and belongings. And then we got this figure with his spear gun, his shark dart, two, not one but two dive knives, his Omega Seamaster, I think, watch, and his neoprene suit and his flashlight, and it's fantastic. His aqua lung, his flippers, everything, it's there. But what was missing? What was missing? The shark cage. Yeah. And I remember saying, I'm going to make one. Well, we're on the way. We're on the way. Right, as you can see right here, we have Matt Hooper, superstar ichthyologist, crusader to try and save sharks, but also defeat Bruce, the big shark, by jabbing a little needle through his skin. No, I can't do that, but maybe if I get him close enough to the cage, I can get him in the mouth. Oh, the shark will rip that cage to pieces. You got any better suggestions? So, that was only a couple of days ago. And I wrapped my brains. I thought, well, how am I going to get a shark cage? You know, you can't go into a pet shop and buy yourself, go into the aquarium and buy yourself a little shark cage, can you? But you can get hamster cages. Yeah, you can. And we already had one, because this family may have thrived on German Shepherd dogs and now a Husky dog, but we've also had a lot of hamsters in our time as well. And I can eat 4 or 5 at one sitting. I can. And our last hamster, who died when Roxy was only like sort of, well, the first, Roxy would be about 10 months old, something like that. And Fang gave up. I went, I can't compete. I'm small. I'm a rodent. That's a big husky, and you love and adore it and you stroke it all the time. Now you ignore me. All I get to do now is play around in the bath, where I used to have the free reign of the house, she was actually female hamsters, but she did. Anyway, so Fang shuffled off this mortal coil, and but we kept the cage, and I found it in the attic, and I thought, I can repurpose this. Yeah, you know, I can salvage it. I can modify it. I'm clever. I can improvise. I've got the tools of the trade. I can make this a Matt Hooper shark cage. Only I couldn't, because I went down to our local hardware store, Howell's, and I took the cage with me as it was, the proper cage. Obviously removing the hamster wheel and the water bottle and all the steps and ladders and the big plastic base and all that, and the food troughs. I just took the cage and I said, I need something that's going to cut through those bars. And he went, right, got just the thing for you. He let me down and he got me these. And I bought them and they were shit. They didn't work. You see these little bars, the little thin bars here? They're about, what, I don't know, 2-3 millimeters. It will snip those, but you've got to do a fair bit of waggling as well. But these thicker bits, it will not go through them. You could have fists and fingers like King Charles, big sausage meaty fingers, and you're still not going to, even the pivotal wrist action, no, it won't cut through that at all. So I was thinking, shit, what am I going to do now? And then I thought, hang on a minute, I've got a good friend called Tom Murdoch. Tom, you're out there. You're out there working miracles for somebody else right now, I'm sure. Tom is the guy that I had to turn to when I got my my original Mel Gibson Mad Max 2 shoulder pad and plate for the Mad Max costume, which I proudly have and proudly wear. And I was going to the Tom Hardy Fury Road premiere in full Mad Max regalia. Now this thing was being sent from America, from the actual guy who had it, and it arrived, got held up in customs, and then finally we got it on the morning of the premiere that I was going to be in the press as well and be photographed, which I was. But I bought myself, I knew I had to like rivet this thing onto the jacket itself, so I bought myself a rivet gun. It was like a stapler. It did nothing. I thought, oh shit, what am I gonna do? So in a panic, me and Mrs. Kilt-Man, we drove around and ran around to all the different mechanics and engineers all around this province, and everyone was going, I know what you need to have done to it, but I can't do it. And then someone finally said, have you tried Tom over there? Tom Murdoch. It was the first time I met Tom. And I went in there, and Tom has a garage, he's an engineer, he's a mechanic, he can do all of that stuff, but he likes to make sculptures out of metal, and he's very creative. And so we walked over there, and he's a bit of a bohemian as well, plays in a samba band. He's currently undertaking gong lessons. Very intensive course as well, I'll have you know. And he explained, look, here's the jacket, here's the thing, can you rivet that onto the jacket? He said, yeah, no worries. Put it on. So we had to put it on, and he got this. I had this little stapler thing, which when I saw the tool that he brought, don't make up your own jokes there. When I saw the tool that he brought out, this huge sort of hydraulic riveting gun thing, like it was like great big shears, and I put it on my shoulder, and he riveted. It was a riveting scenario, riveted, front and back. And it worked a treat, and he saved the day. So I thought the other day, can he save this day as well? And so I just texted him and said, I've got a wee favour to ask. He said, I'll just bring it down, come on. He's all right, I'll do it. And so yeah, these were shite, but his angle grinder was perfectly fine. Sparks aplenty, and he took the cage down. And what we very swiftly realised was that it's all well and good looking at. So the cage was like sort of like that, about that big, yeah, with the plastic base. So that big, as you can see there. And I was saying, well, the cage in the film is actually quite small. Matt Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss, or Carl Rizzo, who was actually his stunt double for the filming that they did a good 18 months before the actual film was put together and edited together. They'd done the shark footage of Danger Reef in Australia with Ron and Valerie Taylor, who were in another cage, a bigger cage, a 2-man cage, but Carl Rizzo was in a 5/8 scale cage to make, because he's only small, he's 4'9", he's an ex-jockey, and 4'9", you know what I mean? So he could fit in that, to be honest. So he's there, little man, and obviously they've got real great white sharks, which obviously in scale and comparison look much bigger to match Bruce, who's meant to be a 20-footer, 25, 3 tons of him, much bigger shark. So and it works perfectly. But the cage that Dreyfuss goes into, the character Matt Hooper goes into, is a 1-man cage, and it's very, very small. And so we had to do a lot of working out, because the bars of the cage are vertical, and you have a viewing window all the way around, and you have the 2 flotation tanks, which I'll explain how we've done this. Oh, and by the way, it ain't finished. It's nowhere near finished. It's got to be painted for one thing. We've got to paint it silver, and but it is pretty good. For a ramshackle thrown together hamster cage cum shark cage. Yeah, I think we've done a pretty bang up job. Tom did a pretty bang up job. I just stood there and went and dodged sparks. I was like, hey, wearing a kilt, you don't want sparks up your kilt now, do you? I often unleash sparks from beneath the kilt, but I don't want them going back up again. So but the way the shape of the bars, and you got there's a curve, which I thought, oh, that'll work great. Bars are vertical. I thought, let's do there's the front, and we'll do sort of 15 bars in, right? And then so we'll cut across there, And then what we'll do is we'll have two walls then, and we'll take the top off because it's too high. So we'll bring that down a bit. And what we can do, we can repurpose the bits we've cut off. It is not that simple, because what you'll find is, because of the cutting that you've done, nothing matches up again. I just thought you could bring the back piece in slightly, the top piece down slightly. It doesn't fit like that. So you've got to do more and more cutting. So what I thought would be a 90-second job for him, well, it was like the best part of 5 minutes. No, no, it took much longer than that. And we had to do some sort of reconfiguring. And I said, oh, I didn't want to, waste too much of his time. I said, just, I'm it's all cut up, and I've got like two sides to it. I can take the rest, and I'll rejig it, I'll put it together. And he went, well, hang on a minute, no, let's move things in and do this and do that. And in the end, he created the box. I gave it the final okay, but as you'll see, and it's not finished, as I say, as you'll see, it's not right, it's not perfect, as if it would be. It's coming apart. That's meant to come off. That's the way in to put the figure in. So we need that. So there it is. Right now, as you can see, it's bigger. It's much wider and it's higher than the cage in the film. But what my intentions are to do with it is to hang him from the air, because he does such a terrible job of saving New Yorker and saving Quint. Idiot! You dropped the spear gun. You turned your back on the great white shark, you fool! It's suspended from like fishing line, or just very thin wire, so he'll be sort of higher up, but his flippers hanging, pointing down. It'll fill the cage a bit better, and the scale will come more to life, I think. So that's the idea for that. But as you can see, the vertical bars on that side, but they are not around the rest of it. But for display purposes, and I've worked out how I'm going to display it as well, that is not going to matter one jot. So because you're going to see him from the front with the shark approaching, or even doing the sort of sideways when he first gets down there, and like he's adjusting his goggles, and then the music dun, 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 begins, and the shark just goes past him. For the first time, Hooper just gets his full vision of the full Bruce the shark, and just goes back against the bars, and he's like choking on your own regulator. Oh God, I've been, pull me up now. And but you could do the shark barreling towards him. You can also part the bars, so where the shark's snout has gone in, and you can have him at the back of the cage, trying to stab the shark. You could do all that. So providing you've got a shark as well. But we'll come on to that in a minute. So as you can see, vertical bars here, horizontal on the other side, in fact around the back. But the hatch itself, to get him in there, we managed to repurpose this. So you've got vertical bars at the back, but as I say, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to me. And once it's painted, and you get some silver paint, some metallic or chrome paint, because the whole thing should be silver and grey, then it will look a hell of a lot better. Now there is an observation window which runs around this thing, which I know that with these and a bit of extra waggling and a bit of forearm action, again, don't make your own jokes, I could snip a load of these and put and fix another sort of makeshift one of these to make a viewing window here, which will be more screen realistic, screen authentic. So it would work. So you got your figure, you got the cage. Cage goes in the water. Shark's in the water. Oh, shark. The cage in the movie is a surface cage. You've got many different types of cages. You've got cages to sit on the bottom. You've got cages to sit middle distances, middle depths, and you've got surface cages. The flotations are for the surface ones, which is what Matt Hooper is in. So it's just below the surface, or it should be. So they have such a hell of a time, winching the wrecked cage back up again. It shouldn't have gone too far down, but the shark was having a field day with it. So I was thinking what I'd use is like the the cardboard tube of bog roll, toilet roll, cut them together and like just stick them on the side. And then I thought, hang on, because the cage ended up being slightly deeper, wider than I thought. And then I noticed that, hang on, some old deodorant cans, Lynx, free advertising there. Also, Lynx, also shark deterrent. Actually, I haven't tried that out, so don't take that as any kind of advice. So at the moment, they are just sellotaped on, so it's just so you can see what I mean. So the flotation floats would be at the top there, which is pretty fine. That looks pretty good to me. And I know it's not painted, you know, and you can see links and sellotape. I will seal them to the bars with a better thing than sellotape. But that said, once it's all sealed around the bars and spray painted, you're not even going to be able to tell that, so it doesn't really matter. There's another bit here which, because of the repurposing, should be cut off. I don't know if you can see this sort of ridge here which sits above it. You know what? I don't really give too much of a flying fuck about that, because when it's going to be hanging up on display and I've got lighting sorted out and a backing piece, which I'm going to show you some ideas for that, you won't even notice that. And it isn't going to matter one iota. In the film, it's a flat pack thing, you know, and you see them all bolting it together, and they're probably strapping it together as well. So with a few like wire ties as well, you could probably get this to look, I don't know, even better again, because it's got that sort of, it's been put together in a hurry by 3 terrified men, you know, on a boat. So I'll show you the back. Well, I'll give it here. There he is. Oh. So you can see it's a lot deeper than the movie cage. There's the hole at the back. See, you've got to be able to get him in, you know, and obviously get him out, because I don't want to make that schoolboy error of oh, I've got me spray paint now, and you've left the figure inside, and suddenly you've got RoboCop in there. You're like, oh, fuck. But I think it could work. I really do. Now, let's put that back on there. I mean, I'm not too, but that can be, you can fit this in. We've deliberately cut it so it can be slotted in, and you can anchor it down with ties again. But for the moment, it can just sit on there. Just sit precariously on there. Now, for a backing piece, because ideally, you're going to want something that's murky, sort of horrible, sort of dank. The water that they sink this cage into is not lovely, sort of Pacific sun-baked water. No. It's horrible. It's grim. It's dark. It's full of dust, and it's not pretty at all. But I was thinking some kind of watery background. Now, I did find these. Now this is part of again, this was in the attic. This is part of like a sort of where the kids put their toys. It's just like a receptacle to put kids' toys in. You know, when you've got young kids and the entire house is bedecked in 1,000,001 toys, and fucking Lego gets right in the sole of your foot. You go, oh god, you're on the ceiling. Well, that's what these things were devised for. Now, it's sort of just blue mesh. I make this sound like I really know what I'm doing. I really don't. But I just thought, you know, you could have that with the sunlight now. I don't know how that's looking, but you can have that behind. So the way you set it up, and you could, and there's also a little ledge at the bottom of this. So you could sit the cage inside this and kind of almost give it a surround, a watery sort of surround. And with the mesh, it kind of looks a bit murky, like there's eddies of water. I don't know. I'm making that bit up, but it's blue. You know what I mean? Put it over the top like that. You know, it's, you know, I don't know. There's a lot. It's an idea. It's a work in progress. But then there was something else. I thought, hold on a second, because it's in here. It's in here, along with my trusty bottle of whiskey. Cheers, y'all. And here's to swimming with bow-legged women. See, you brought your rubbers. Right. Now, these Neca figures, the backing piece inside the window boxes that they come in, because you've got some collectors out there who don't take them out the box. Well, if you don't take him out the box, you can't put him in the cage. Figure stays in the box. Nothing happens. You just hang it on the wall of the shelf. You just look at it. You know. It's a figure. It's been made. It's articulated. It's got bits and bobs. It's got accessories. You want to use it. On the back of the box, you have that murky water. That murky water, of course. There you go. And now I've got 2 Quint figures and now 2 Matt Hooper figures. And of course, this one came courtesy of our great friend and super channel contributor, Cap'n Ronnie, over on the Emerald Isle. He was a massive, massive shark and Jaws fan. Now, you could put a couple of those at the back, because I've got 4 of them. You could just line them up at the back like that. Keep the water level above, because obviously he's beneath the surface. So you keep him like, and you could, I don't know, it's just an idea. Just an idea. Try it, have a go. So you can put backing bits into this. My idea for displaying it is to put it in a corner high up in a corner of a wall in the room, whatever room, and suspend it in the corner, or even bolt it, rivet it, to the wall itself on the 2 sides. So he'd be in the corner, he'd be in there, and from like fishing line, suspend the shark, and the shark could be going right at him, the shark could be going past him. You could even let it swing, and with a bit of lighting, it look really good. And again, in that sort of corner of a wall, that would fit, because it's 2 pieces, So there should be another piece to this, but I don't. God alone knows where that is. Maybe the hamster at it, knowing what was coming. You're gonna fuck my cage up. Well, I'm gonna fuck your background watery sort of surround up as well. But yeah, now this is the thing about the sharks. I'm sure I've read that Neca are going to produce a cage. And you watch, the minute I've painted this, the fucking thing will be announced. Plus the long-awaited Brody figure. They'll get all that sorted out. But I like this because I watched my friend sweat blood and tears on this. I sweated too when I realised that this fucking thing wasn't going to work. But and I wasted money on it as well. But I like it. It's because you've done it. It's your own idea, and I'm sure if they do bring out the cage, it's going to be very expensive to scale. And if they do bring out the orca, which I think they should do, that's going to cost you hundreds to get the orca to scale with the figures. It's going to be fucking huge, isn't it? Now, if you go on Amazon or you look on hobby stores and that, in fact, if you do Google it, you will find that there is, I think it's Pegasus who make this. There is a guy, a little figure like that, in a proper shark cage with the shark viewing window all the way around and a great white shark. But you've got to construct them and you've got to paint them. But it won't be that figure. And the figure isn't posable. So, and it won't have those accessories. It'll look, it's like Jaws, but it isn't Jaws. So, but if you go on Amazon and all these hobby stores, there are sort of lifelike, you can't call them action figures, they don't do anything, of great whites and the megalodon, and they're like that, and they're very realistic. In fact, one of the great whites has a movable jaw, and when you pull the jaw down, it does look like the bottom teeth sort of come out, because that's what happens, and the lower jaw extends. The jawline throws itself out for this really super successful, highly grinding, highly powerful underbite. Actually, got that long way around. It's the top jaw that comes out, the top jaw. But I think this figure does that. Now, the problem with those is they're not big enough. Now, Richard Dreyfuss is only a short arse. We know that. Not as short as the guy that portrayed him in the actual proper shark footage. Carl Rizzo, but he's still a short guy nonetheless. But even the figure's comparable in size with the Quint figure, so he's smaller. The sharks are at most 12 inches long. If you're lucky, they might go to 14 or 15 inches long. They're not big enough. I know you could use some kind of forced perspective. You could have the shark in the background, perhaps going, whatever. Or the shark in the foreground, making it look even bigger, coming towards, which you could do. But if you're just, that's great for photographs and for videos, you could do that. But if you're sitting looking at it, you're going you'd be forever going, oh, there's me Hooper in the cage. What a great sequence I've reenacted there. That fucking shark's a bit of a tiddler, isn't it? That's not Bruce. So, I've yet to find a shark. You need to find a realistic shark replica at about 18, 20, 25 inches to make it effective enough. Now you guys know I've got this. I've got the Trick or Treats Bruce the Shark mask. That's a fucking mask. You're supposed to wear this, and you see out of here, there's little eye holes there. You're never going to use that as a mask, are you? Because otherwise, it's absolutely brilliant. That is a superb. I mean, look at that. Look at that now. Just with me in the way going, ah. Look, it's outstanding. Now, there'd be a way of, well, for video and for photography, you could set this up with this going right at it, and it would looks pretty good right now. It's just when you go like that, you go, oh. But, and then the scale, this is like the Meg. This is how Jason Statham should be, that figure there, and that's the Meg coming for him. So you could, I suppose, do that, but these are quite expensive now, these masks. See how I said about the top jaw? I know I said lower jaw, I got that wrong, But the top jaw extends, comes out, so that it successfully clamps down with the underbite to get, shred its prey. It just seems to this will peel back and that jaw comes out. And also, they lose a tooth to get a new one. The teeth keep on revolving round with the jaw. So one of these comes out, another tooth will come round. Lose that one, another tooth will come out. It's like the immortals of molars. And so you could do photography where he's sort of coming out of the side like that, coming towards, and sort of like that. But we still need a proper 2-scale Bruce the Shark. Neca have said they're going to do this. So, just wait, see what happens. Neca's announced a load of new figures, including stuff from The Thing, of course. And they've promised to do all the characters from The Thing, which will be great. Great. A lot of ideas for that. I think I've discussed all that before, but we need Brody. We need the Orca. You could do the Orca. You could even use that figure, right, to probe Ben Gardner's hull. Ben Gardner's boat's hull, He's got the torch, he's got his knife, swims up, and you could even set it up so you'd have like the hull, the wrecked hull of a boat out there. It's Ben Gardner's boat. It's all banged up. You should have seen him. So you'd have that sort of hanging there. You don't need the top of it at all. Just the underslung elements, the hull with the hole in it, and you got there is a Lord of the Rings figure which I've got, which is it's the whether in Balin's tomb in Fellowship of the Ring. Goblins, says Legolas, and and Gimli's going berserk. Oh, roast beef off the bone and all this kind of thing. Malt beers, and you get there, and the Mines of Moria are fucking tomb, and the goblins, because Pippin knocks the bucket off into the well. Next time, throw yourself in, fool of a tuck. And goblins stage their attack. Well, one of the figures is it's the wall and the gate which they bar, and a hole in it, and there's all arrows that Legolas and Boromir and Aragorn are firing into it. But you flip a little switch at the back, and out of nowhere, this goblin's head just comes in and fills it. So I was thinking, you could even I wouldn't want to change that because, but on that working on, you could use that, have that inside the. You could take the head and just have the head just poking through. You could reposition the door as the hull of the Bengala's boat and have the head there. I'm just thinking out the box, folks. As in, take your figure out the box and do stuff with it. So you'd have that. That would be the underslung hull Ben Gardner's boat, and the goblin head would be Ben Gardner's head. But you know what I mean. So you could have him again, fishing wire, have him hanging there, get him in the right pose with the torch and with his knife, and you could put a little tiny little bit of white plastic triangle in there, have him digging away. It's just ideas, folks. And ideas are what make the day go by. Ideas is what makes the world the problematic shitstorm that it is today. Cheers, y'all. So, folks, I'll be back with the full, well, when I've painted it, when I've done a bit more tinkering, but I'm not going to do a great deal more. I may well make that, well, I'm probably going to make the observation window for just for the front part of it. And so, observation window, I mean, it's just, you can see the water's coming straight through, but they have these panels, and it's so they can get the cameras out, and they can also put their hands through and attract sharks with bait, fish heads, and the hindquarters of horses. Be careful now, and keep your elbows, keep your hands and your knees and your feet and your hands and your elbows and your knees and how many other bits have we got in the cage at all times, because a passing happy snappy shark, you know. So I think it can work. As I say again, I'll have him hoisted up a bit so it'll give more sort of sense of scale to it, and the flippers will probably be touching the base of it. So, folks, there you go. I'll get back to you with the full painted version and a few bits more tinkering done. And then obviously when I finally do get the whole thing set up properly, I'll obviously show you that as well. You might even see it in the background of the videos. If it's any good, you might see it as a permanent backdrop in the far distance. But if it's crap, then you'll never see it again. Simple as. So folks, I have been always Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever submerged and dangerous in between time, please keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all later. You want a drink? Drink to your leg. You want to drink to your leg? Okay, so we drink our legs. I've got to get up now and hit the off button. These old bones of mine, you know. It's an home's full of them.